Have you ever stopped to think how one person, just one mind, could really get a deep handle on wildly different fields? I mean, picture someone who can teach you, like, hyper-precise tactical self-defense.
Hmm.
Then, just like that, pivot to breaking down the complex political ideas that shaped entire countries,
Right.
and then on top of that, guide you through, I don't know, an almost academic look at ancient history or even, believe it or not, the supernatural.
It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? Like, how
Right.
do you fit all that in one brain?
Exactly. It sounds like an incredible feat. Well, today, that's exactly what we're doing. We're diving deep into the work of one such person, a remarkably versatile author. Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to really getting informed. Today, our focus is the incredibly prolific author, Shawn Armstrong. His unique range and just the sheer breadth of what he's published, it's really something else. He offers insights across such an amazing spectrum of topics.
Yeah, and what's really compelling about Shawn Armstrong, I think, isn't just the quantity of work, though that's impressive. It's the why behind it. He's not just, churning out content.
Right.
It feels like he operates with this really strong commitment to educating and empowering people through knowledge, through critical thinking. It seems like every book, doesn't matter the subject, is sort of designed to push you, the reader, to really engage deeply and think proactively about the world.
That's such a key point. So our mission, our goal for this deep dive today is to explore this huge landscape of Armstrong's publications. We want to reveal not just what he covers, but also look for the surprising links, maybe some underlying themes that tie all these diverse interests together. By the time we finish up today, you should have a really solid grasp of Armstrong's unique contributions. You'll hopefully get a new appreciation for, like, thinking across different disciplines. And fingers crossed, you'll walk away with some genuinely surprising facts or ideas that might just reshape how you look at a whole range of topics. Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the person, behind the books.
Yeah.
What really defines Shawn Armstrong's core identity as an author?
Well, he's often known, first and foremost perhaps, as a distinguished self-defense expert.
Sure, yeah.
And that's definitely a big part of his work, no question. But it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
Right. His writing just goes way beyond that single niche. It spans history, politics, philosophy, alongside all the practical skills. The sheer breadth really sets the stage for the kind of intellectual journey we're taking today.
And you mentioned something interesting right at the start.
The C.S. Lewis thing.
Yeah, exactly. His admiration for C.S. Lewis. That immediately hints at something deeper, doesn't it? A kind of philosophical, maybe introspective layer that seems to underpin even his most practical hands-on guides.
It really does. It shows he's bringing more than just technical expertise. There's a real thought process behind everything.
And it's fascinating how his background seems to directly feed into this incredible range. It's not like these are just random hobbies he picked up.
Yeah, it connects.
His academic foundation is pretty solid. He's got degrees in criminal justice and homeland security, and these aren't just, pieces of paper. They seem to give him a real framework for understanding human behavior, especially when things get chaotic or complex.
You can see that, can't you? Like his insights into how societies work or conflict resolution in his political stuff.
Yeah.
It feels informed by that understanding of law enforcement, national security.
Definitely. And then he layers on top of that formal education, what he describes as a lifetime of travel and real-world experience. He actually uses that explicitly to make his writing richer, more grounded, gives it that practical edge.
So it all feeds back into that core mission you mentioned earlier.
I think so, yeah. That seems to be the thread tying it all together. This unwavering commitment to educating and empowering people through knowledge. His writing, again and again, doesn't just aim to inform, but to actively inspire action and critical thinking in you, the reader.
He's built up credibility not just in self-defense, but in history, too, by showing how these insights aren't just abstract ideas, they can be applied.
Exactly. Whether it's for your personal safety or for trying to wrap your head around complex global stuff, he's basically handing you a toolkit for critical engagement.
So it really does feel like, for Armstrong, knowledge isn't just about collecting facts like stamps.
No, not at all.
It's about equipping you, the listener, with the tools and the perspectives to really engage critically with the world around you. It makes you wonder if that fundamental desire to empower is the main driver behind exploring everything from, personal protection techniques to the history of global conflicts.
It seems like it all comes back to helping you become a more informed, more capable individual.
Right. So where does he usually start this journey of empowerment for his readers? Often, it seems to be with very direct, immediately useful skills. These are the resources designed to help you navigate the world with, well, more confidence, more capability. Let's start there, with his contributions to personal safety and skill building. Let's first dig into his work on firearms and marksmanship. One of his key books here is Tactical Training with Firearms. Now, this isn't just your basic how-to
So
manual.
it's much more comprehensive.
Yeah, it's designed to equip people with essential self-defense skills. But, and this is important, with a really strong emphasis on responsibility. His credentials here are pretty clear. Over 23 years in the U.S. Army, including time in Iraq and Afghanistan, he's a master firearms instructor.
So he has the practical background, definitely.
Absolutely. But what really makes this book stand out, I think, beyond just being a standard guide, is Armstrong's deep focus on the ethical and legal side of things. He keeps coming back to this idea: be informed, be responsible. He argues that real self-defense starts with understanding the moral and legal implications of your actions, not just the physical techniques.
That's a crucial distinction.
It is. And then, of course, the book provides practical drills designed to improve accuracy, help you make better tactical decisions under pressure. He gets into equipment specifics like recommendations for tactical shotguns and details critical protocols for force-on-force safety.
Can you unpack that force-on-force bit a little?
Sure, it's a type of training where people engage in really realistic scenarios, often using non-lethal things like paintballs or airsoft to simulate actual combat or self-defense situations. The whole point is to emphasize making decisions in real time and understanding the immediate consequences.
Got it. So very hands-on, very practical application.
Exactly. Then, shifting just slightly within that same world of shooting, we find the magic of long-range shooting. Zen or science. Even the title makes you curious, right?
Yeah, it suggests something beyond just mechanics.
Precisely. It hints at this deeper link between, say, mental discipline and the technical precision needed for long-range shooting. The book really aims to elevate your skills, covering everything from the nitty-gritty of zeroing your scope to mastering those internal things like breath control and trigger squeeze.
And the Zen part, how does he approach that?
Well, what's really insightful is how he unpacks that Zen aspect. It's not just about the mechanics. He gets into the mental toughness required, exploring techniques to cultivate this focused, almost meditative state when you're aiming for precision over long distances.
So, mind and matter.
Exactly. He highlights techniques that separate the beginners from the experts, like understanding the natural point of aim.
Which
That's
he-
basically the most stable point where your body naturally rests. When you align that with the target, it minimizes muscle tension, which leads to more consistent accuracy. He also covers advanced stuff, like dealing with environmental factors, wind, mirage, and practical tips, like using ballistic computers and creating range cards for precise shots over distance.
Okay, so really detailed, practical advice grounded in both physical technique and mental focus.
Spot on. Now, moving beyond firearms, Armstrong also goes deep into martial arts and personal defense. His book, Warrior's Path, The Epic Journey of Modern Karate, Dragon Kenpo 2.0, is presented as this authoritative guide to mastering a martial art that's, steeped in tradition and respect, but also adapted for today's self-defense needs.
Tempo karate, right.
Right. It covers the foundational stuff like dojo etiquette, the clock principle, which is a core Kenpo idea for visualizing angles of attack and defense, and even delves into the legacy of Mr. Armstrong himself within that art form. But the real insight, I think, is his focus on the principles of power.
Meaning?
He doesn't just list moves. He explains the mechanics behind them, how to generate force effectively, whether you're breaking boards or defending yourself in a real situation. And what's more, he connects the physical training to wider life skills, especially through conflict resolution.
Ah, so not just fighting.
No, he really stresses mastering verbal techniques for de-escalation, reminding you that words are powerful tools to avoid conflict altogether. He also gets into mental preparedness, offering strategies like mushin.
That's the no-mind state.
Yeah, that state of heightened awareness, almost instinctive reaction without conscious thought getting in the way. And he includes visualization for high-stress scenarios. Plus, the book lays out training techniques and belt requirements, giving a clear, structured path if you want to pursue mastery.
It sounds incredibly thorough. And he adapts this for the modern world too, right? With online teaching.
He does, which is pretty forward-thinking. In teaching karate online, he gives this comprehensive guide for teaching Kenpo karate digitally. He starts by grounding you in the history and philosophy, discipline, respect, all crucial for online learning.
Because it's harder to maintain that online, maybe.
Perhaps, yeah. Then he dives into the practical side, how to create an engaging online environment. the virtual dojo, and how to tailor the curriculum for different skill levels. The core insight here is really how he bridges that gap between the traditional dojo and the digital space.
How does he suggest keeping students engaged online?
He talks about things like gamification, personalized feedback, effective marketing using social media, and practical solutions for the unique challenges of teaching online, like ensuring safety and discipline remotely.
Okay, very practical again. What about self-defense for people who maybe aren't looking for full martial arts training?
Good question. He covers that too with self-defense for everyday people. This is framed as a comprehensive guide to empower you with essential skills to just stay aware and prepared, in everyday situations. The crucial insight here is the strong focus on proactive prevention rather than just reactive defense.
Situational awareness.
Exactly. He highlights the huge role of situational awareness, being able to spot potential threats before they even develop. Now, it does teach key physical techniques that use natural strength and agility, and it helps you understand different self-defense tools and the legal side of using them.
De-escalation comes up again too, I bet.
Absolutely. It covers those crucial techniques to resolve conflicts peacefully, underlining that physical confrontation should always be the last resort. Ultimately, the book aims to help you build a personalized safety plan for your own life. And his tagline for this one is pretty punchy. Be the sheepdog, not the sheep.
Right, a call to be proactive.
Exactly. It's about vigilance, taking responsibility for your own safety, and then finally, on the more advanced professional end of safety, he wrote, From planning to execution, the multifaceted role of an executive protection specialist.
So bodyguards for VIPs, essentially.
Well, yes and no. The core insight of the book is that executive protection is way more holistic than just being a physical bodyguard. It details the responsibilities of EP specialists, showing how they ensure client safety proactively through meticulous planning, intelligence gathering.
So brains as much as brawn.
Definitely. The book highlights the blend of skills needed. Physical ability, sure, but also mental agility for quick decisions under pressure and really crucial networking skills to build that protective bubble. It also goes deep into navigating the complex ethics and legalities involved. Professional integrity is just as vital as being able to handle a threat.
Makes sense.
And it even looks at future trends and efficiency in the security field, showing it's a constantly evolving profession.
What's really striking across all these different self-defense works, it's how consistently they go beyond just the physical moves.
Right.
Armstrong weaves in mental preparedness, ethics, legal understanding, even de-escalation as core components. It feels like a remarkably holistic approach to safety, whether personal or professional. It's about comprehensive readiness, not just brute force.
He's not just telling you what to do, he's pushing you to understand how to think about it and why it matters. That really seems to be a consistent thread.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, now here's where things get really interesting, I think. We shift gears from, ensuring personal safety to understanding the health, the resilience of entire societies. Shawn Armstrong takes us deep into American history and political thought, and he often challenges conventional wisdom, consistently pushing you to think critically about the foundations of the U.S. and how it's changing. Let's start with his look at the evolution of American political thought in the American left. From liberalism to despotism, Armstrong offers this thorough exploration of how leftist thought has evolved in America.
Okay, and how does he approach that? Obviously, that's a potentially charged topic.
It is, and the book, from our reading, impartially examines the philosophical roots of liberalism, tracing it through key thinkers like John Dewey. It discusses how big historical events, think the New Deal, World War II, reshaped those ideologies, leading to new interpretations. Then it gets into the rise of what he terms more radical perspectives, analyzing their impact on things like civil rights, feminism, identity politics. The key insight here seems to be how Armstrong frames these changes as a series of evolving interpretations of core American values, and doing so raises critical questions for you, the reader, about freedom, justice, the future of political discourse, prompting you to assess these shifts critically, not just accept them.
So presenting his analysis for consideration.
Exactly. Now, on the really crucial topic of race, rights, and institutions, he has several significant works. Take Institutionalizing Division, a critical examination of racial fanaticism in America.
Okay, that title signals a strong perspective.
It does, and the book directly challenges conventional views on affirmative action and critical race theory, CRT.
Right, CRT being that academic framework suggesting racism is embedded in systems and policies, not just individual bias.
Correct. Armstrong's book scrutinizes that framework. It explores how, in his view, these concepts are reshaping education, military values, societal discourse. He details arguments, for instance, questioning whether current policies might violate the 1964 Civil Rights Act. His core insight seems to be a call for transparency in K-12 classrooms and an advocacy for prioritizing merit-based education, asking you to consider the long-term impacts of these policies.
Again, laying out his argument on a complex issue.
Precisely. Then, building on that, there's the history of American civil rights and the leftist hijacking of the nobility of the fight for civil rights. This one digs into America's really complex struggle for equality.
What's the focus there?
The book aims to reveal crucial, sometimes uncomfortable truths about civil liberties. It starts by grounding the discussion in natural rights, arguing they're rooted in founding principles, then tackles the immense moral complexities around slavery. It looks at key legislative milestones, the Civil Rights Act, the 14th Amendment highlighting their intent and impact.
Okay.
A particularly insightful part is Armstrong's exploration of the different philosophies on race and education from figures like Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois. It shows how different Black leaders approached the same fundamental problems with very different strategies.
That comparison is really useful.
It is. This deep historical dive helps provide clarity on how those past struggles continue to shape today's identity politics, helping you understand the historical roots of current debates. Moving now to governance, foundational principles, consent of the governed. The fundamental principle in the Federalist Papers and its relevance today meticulously examines the core ideas that shaped American governance.
The Federalist Papers, right? Foundational texts.
Absolutely. And the key insight here is how Armstrong connects these writings by Hamilton, Madison, Jay directly to today's political world. He explores how their original arguments about that tricky balance between individual rights and collective power still resonate powerfully with modern challenges.
It's making history relevant.
Exactly. It's presented as essential reading if you're invested in the future of democracy. It really challenges you to think about what it means to live under a government that gets its power from your consent and what your role as a citizen is in that system. In a similar way, Reclaiming Our Ideals revisits those core tenets that shaped America: equality, natural rights, virtue. Armstrong analyzes how historical events like the famous Hamilton-Jefferson rivalry and ongoing issues like slavery's legacy still influence how we understand civil rights today. The book really champions the idea of inherent unalienable rights, emphasizing consent and that crucial balance between rights and duties in a free society. His core insight seems to be articulating this moral framework rooted in virtue, advocating for individual rights even as norms change, and exploring how these ideals touch on social roles, property rights, economic principles.
A broad philosophical sweep there.
Definitely. Then there's Dismantling the Republic. This one confronts what Armstrong sees as the big challenges today: the complexities of citizenship, the decline of the middle class, the rise of tribal politics.
So more contemporary issues.
Yes. The book looks at how citizenship has evolved, from old monarchies to modern identity struggles. It examines what he calls the middle-class meltdown, exploring economic pressures and policies he argues are eroding independence. He offers immigration insights, asking readers to question who benefits from blurred borders in a globalized world.
And the tribal politics part.
Yeah, a key insight is his analysis of tribal politics explained, detailing how, in his view, identity politics might be undermining the American dream by creating divisions. The final chapter really pushes you to question if the Constitution is becoming outdated, and to think critically about globalism, are elite agendas undermining citizenship, that kind of thing.
Provocative questions.
Very. And finally, on a very recent political period, Shawn Armstrong offers this meticulous policy-by-policy analysis in From Jobs to Justice, the Trump era examined.
Okay, wading into recent history. How does he approach that?
It's presented as a detailed look at every significant policy decision during what he calls the tumultuous years of the Trump administration. It explores how actions in trade, energy, foreign policy, defense, veterans affairs shape the country.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. He details things he calls trade triumphs, like specific international disputes or support for farmers. He examines the energy revolution. Looking at deregulation, he argues, made the U.S. a global oil leader. In foreign policy, he covers bold foreign policy moves, like moving the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem or engaging with North Korea. Defense-wise, he analyzes military funding, cyber strategies, and for veterans, he highlights veterans care reform, focusing on changes he sees as improvements.
So breaking it down policy by policy.
Exactly. The key takeaway is how he analyzes the administration's impact through this detailed review of its actions, inviting you to form your own informed conclusions about that period.
This does raise an important point. Across all these American-focused books, you consistently see Armstrong examining core principles, how they've evolved historically, and the impact of these big ideological shifts.
Yeah, that's a clear pattern.
His consistent approach seems to be pushing you, the listener, to question what freedom and justice actually mean in different contexts. He encourages a deeper look at the why behind our current social dynamics, rather than just, accepting things on the surface. He's really giving you a framework for historical and political analysis.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so what happens when we zoom out, when we expand the view beyond America? Armstrong's curiosity definitely doesn't stop at the border. His work also takes us on this global journey through history, major conflicts, and even fundamental economic systems. Let's start with his exploration of ideologies and blood-stained banner and the intellectual journey unraveling complexities of communist thought.
Right, tackling some heavy subjects there.
Definitely. These books offer what's described as an unflinching look at the realities of socialism and communism. The aim seems to be to illuminate harsh truths and maybe demystify some of the narratives around certain socialist models. The core insight is Armstrong's deep dive into the practical outcomes of these ideologies. Well, for example, he contrasts what he calls the seductive allure of, say, Scandinavian socialism with what he presents as its grim realities when you look closely at the economics. He details pretty extensively what he identifies as the huge human cost of various communist regimes, citing examples from Azerbaijan to Vietnam, focusing on economic and human rights impacts. The book also provides this thorough analysis contrasting socialism and capitalism directly, looking at their different impacts on things like innovation and creativity. It really invites you to consider the economic and social consequences of each system. Now, digging deeper into communist thought specifically, the intellectual journey has these detailed chapters that really unpack historical figures and concepts. For instance, it gets into Vladimir Lenin's role in shaping the Bolshevik movement and setting up the communist regime in Russia.
Right, the vanguard party idea.
Exactly. Armstrong highlights Lenin's strategies for taking power, his vision for a socialist state, emphasizing that belief in the necessity of a small, disciplined group, the vanguard party, to guide the working class. The book also focuses heavily on Joseph Stalin.
A much darker figure.
Undeniably. He's portrayed as a dictator whose rule involved totalitarian control, devastating purges. It examines Stalin's policies, forced collectivization, rapid industrialization, which aimed to modernize the Soviet economy, but, as Armstrong details, often led to immense suffering and repression. Does he also look at criticisms of communism? Yes, that's a crucial part. He introduces prominent critics in a dedicated section, thinkers like Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Ludwig von Mises, Friedrich Hayek. They provide this powerful counter-narrative to Marxist ideology.
Okay.
Armstrong presents their arguments as articulating the dangers of totalitarianism, emphasizing the importance of individual freedoms, market economies. He uses their work as a strong critique of communist principles, highlighting what he argues are the inherent moral and practical problems with total state control.
So presenting both sides of the intellectual debate.
Well, presenting the ideology and then a strong critique of it. The book also broadens out to discuss the global influence of communist ideas beyond the Soviet Union, looking at unique interpretations in places like Yugoslavia and China, how they led to different forms of government. And finally, it tackles cultural Marxism.
Which is a controversial term itself.
It is, often linked to the Frankfurt School's critical theory focusing on culture and power structures. Armstrong discusses its utopian aims, its critiques of traditional structures, outlining how he sees cultural Marxists trying to reshape society through social justice movements, aiming for what they call an inclusive society that challenges norms. This whole overview of communist thought, its history, the debates around socialism, it really challenges your beliefs and pushes for clarity in a complex world.
It sounds like a very comprehensive, if potentially contentious, analysis.
It covers a lot of ground. Now, beyond political ideologies, Armstrong also gets into the nuts and bolts of economic systems. Understanding capitalism is positioned as this authoritative guide to the, quote, intricate dance between market forces and human behavior. revealing the principles shaping our economy.
What kind of principles does he cover?
It breaks down how your individual choices impact your life and society. It gives insights into profit, loss, their wider implications. It explains how the division of labor drives efficiency, explores optimizing production through economies of scale, getting cost advantages from size.
Right.
It also looks at global trade's role in growth and how technology transforms resource management. The ultimate reflection seems to be on what Armstrong argues is that delicate balance needed between prosperity, morality, and freedom for a truly just society. He invites you to think about the ethics behind economic choices.
Okay. And world conflicts, he covers those too.
He does, with the same kind of comprehensive analytical approach. World War II. From Pearl Harbor to Rio de Janeiro isn't just a list of battles. It's framed as an exploration of human resilience, strategy, unexpected alliances that shaped the modern world.
What specific moments does he highlight?
It covers pivotal events like the Dunkirk evacuation, how that retreat became a symbol of resistance. It analyzes the brutal siege of Stalingrad as a turning point against tyranny, showing the immense cost and strategic impact. It recounts the shockwaves from Pearl Harbor that brought the U.S. into the war.
And the Rio de Janeiro part of the title.
Yeah, that's interesting. It highlights the surprising, often overlooked role that distant places like Brazil played, providing resources and military support. The book promises this deep connection with our shared history and its ongoing implications.
And more recent conflicts.
Yes, for a really focused look at modern warfare, there's the Second Battle of Ramadi. This is described as a meticulously detailed analysis of a pivotal moment in the Iraq War.
What's the focus beyond the military strategy?
It looks at the profound implications for local governance, security dynamics in the region. It provides the historical context leading up to the battle, the complex politics. Then it dissects key military operations, tactical innovations used by U.S. forces like snipers, urban combat techniques.
Okay.
A crucial insight is its exploration of the Anbar Awakening, that movement where Sunni tribes turned against al-Qaeda in Iraq, and its huge impact on the counterinsurgency effort. The book also really emphasizes the heroic acts of U.S. soldiers in the midst of chaos, covering everything from clearing insurgent strongholds to the long-term legacies for the city.
Very specific deep dive into one battle.
Exactly. He also looks at the bigger picture of international relations in the evolution of American foreign policy. This gives a comprehensive view of how historical events and key doctrines shaped the U.S. role globally, tracing it from early isolationism to modern engagement.
What kind of ground does that cover?
It explores the foundational goals of U.S. foreign policy right from the start. Insights into national sovereignty, pivotal moments like the Monroe Doctrine, or the U.S. emerging as a superpower after WWII. The core insight is how Armstrong delves into how past decisions influence the present, exploring complex issues like interventionism, terrorism, global responsibilities today.
And he even does deep dives into specific countries' histories. You mentioned Brazil earlier.
Yes, his focus on Brazil is quite detailed. In Political History of Brazil, from colonialism to democracy, Armstrong explores how deep-rooted issues like inequality, clientelism, that system of exchanging support for favors, often leading to corruption and authoritarianism, have shaped Brazil's governance.
What are the key insights there?
A big one is his examination of slavery's legacy and its ongoing impact on Brazilian politics today. The book covers crucial periods: indigenous structures, the rise of the republic, the military dictatorship from 64 to 85, and then the path to democracy after that. It gives insights into Brazil's unique politics, current challenges like the Operation Car Wash corruption scandal, tensions between central and regional power, political polarization on social media.
And he wrote a practical guide for Brazilians, too.
He did, Guide for Brazilians in the USA. It's positioned as this practical passport for a smoother transition, covering laws, customs, traditions, juridical differences, social etiquette, practical tips on cost of living, healthcare. It even emphasizes mentorship and community resources. It really shows his commitment to empowering individuals goes beyond just historical analysis.
Connecting this all together, what really emerges across these global narratives is Armstrong's consistent push for you, the reader, to grapple with difficult historical truths and how they still resonate today. He doesn't shy away from controversial topics, socialism, major wars, but the goal seems to be providing a thorough, critical examination so you can form your own informed conclusions, regardless of the country or the time period. He's equipping you to think critically, not telling you what to think.
Yeah.
That feels very consistent.
Absolutely. And now, for something completely different, while so much of his work is grounded History, politics, practical skills. Shawn Armstrong's intellectual journey also takes him into deeper philosophical waters and even into the realm of the unexplained. This really underscores the astonishing breadth and, frankly, the sheer curiosity of his mind. Let's start with the philosophical side. We turn to my essays on C.S. Lewis, From Doubt to Faith.
Back to us.
Back to Lewis. This is presented as an authoritative collection exploring those big universal themes: faith, doubt, the search for moral clarity, really illuminating Lewis's own spiritual journey.
And how does Armstrong approach Lewis's work?
Each essay apparently dissects key themes from Lewis's writings meticulously, unveiling his philosophical evolution in a way that connects with, contemporary struggles around faith and morality. The core insight seems to be how Armstrong not only interprets Lewis's journey, but adds his own personal reflections, bridging Lewis's timeless dilemmas with modern experiences.
So, making Lewis relevant today.
Exactly. The book offers comprehensive coverage of topics like belief, suffering, moral values, enriching your understanding of life's big questions. It also explores practical applications of Lewis's insights to modern dilemmas, guiding you in seeking your own moral certainty. It's noted as valuable for students of philosophy, theology, literary scholars.
A serious engagement with Lewis's thought.
It seems so. Then, shifting gears completely, we go way back to ancient history with the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, a comprehensive historical analysis.
Okay, a classic topic.
Absolutely. This is described as a meticulously crafted book, a gateway to one of history's most influential periods, great for enthusiasts, students, educators. The key insight here is Armstrong's detailed look at the brilliance and uniqueness of Rome's constitution. Its complex power dynamics, things that laid the groundwork for so many modern legal and political systems.
What aspects does it cover?
It gets into the legendary stories, Romulus and Remus, exploring the mix of myth and reality in Rome's founding. Then it moves into the pivotal military campaigns that defined its rise and eventual transformation into an empire. It highlights key themes: social classes, political rivalries, defining moments, offering insights not just into what happened, but its lasting impact on modern governance. And interestingly, it includes thought-provoking quizzes, again showing that clear educational goal.
Right, reinforcing the learning.
Exactly. And finally, venturing into the truly unexplained, there's Whispers from Beyond, your essential guide to ghost hunting and demonology.
Wow, okay. That's quite a leap.
Isn't it? This is presented as an authoritative exploration combining personal stories with scholarly insight, guiding you through ghost hunting and demonology. Now, what's fascinating here is Armstrong's approach. He seems committed to applying a rigorous, structured methodology to a subject often, pushed to the fringes.
How does he do that? Structure for ghost hunting.
Well, he details a comprehensive approach. He covers the historical context, how ghost hunting evolved. He delves into theoretical foundations, different types of spirits, the psychology behind these experiences. He provides essential preparation techniques, emphasizing research, safety protocols.
Okay, so quite methodical.
Very. It covers practical investigation strategies for assessing activity, including evidence collection like EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, those sounds interpreted as spirit voices. It even delves into entity engagement tactics for communicating safely and handling potentially hostile encounters. According to the description, yes. It includes real-life case studies to ground the discussion. And it emphasizes how, as technology advances, our understanding of the supernatural might also change, reflecting on past practices and looking towards future trends in ghost hunting. It's a surprisingly disciplined take on the unexplainable.
That is fascinating because even when he's talking about something as, well, ethereal as the supernatural, he seems to apply that same rigorous, structured approach.
Exactly.
Emphasizing research, ethics, critical analysis.
Yeah.
It's completely consistent with how he tackles history or politics or even self-defense. It really shows this pervasive commitment to informed understanding, no matter how unconventional or, controversial the topic might seem. He brings that same intellectual rigor everywhere.
Yeah, encouraging you to engage thoughtfully, even with the most enigmatic subjects. Wow, what an intellectual journey this deep dive has been. We've really unpacked an astonishing range of work by Shawn Armstrong. We've gone from practical, tactical self-defense all the way to the intricate details of political history, the core principles of economics, the depths of philosophy, and even the compelling mysteries of paranormal investigation.
It's quite the spectrum.
It really is. And his true strength seems to lie not just in the sheer volume or diversity, but in that unique ability to distill core insights, make complex stuff accessible, and genuinely foster critical engagement in you, the reader, across this incredible range of human knowledge.
Yeah, my overarching takeaway is definitely that Shawn Armstrong's work offers you, the listener, this powerful model for just continuous, curious learning.
That's well put.
He consistently invites you to seek out different perspectives, to question assumptions, and to gain knowledge not just for its own sake, but for empowerment, for navigating this increasingly complex and interconnected world we live in. He really teaches how to think, not just what to think, across this remarkable breadth of human experience and intellectual exploration.
So, thinking about that extraordinary breadth, what does Shawn Armstrong's work, taken as a whole, tell us about that fundamental human drive we all have? That drive to understand both the world outside us and our own internal landscapes.
Interesting question.
Whether we do it through mastering a physical skill, analyzing history, contemplating philosophy, or even investigating the unknown, how might connecting these fields that seem so separate actually lead to a more complete, maybe more resilient understanding of yourself and the world around you? Something to ponder. We definitely encourage you to explore Shawn Armstrong's work further. Maybe pick up one of his books that caught your attention today and continue your own deep dives into the topics that intrigue you most. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.